Today is May 20th, 2020, and this is your daily Half-Life 3 update. There is no news about Half-Life 3. Uh, Earlier today, they announced that the Snyder Cut version of Justice League is going to be released on HBO Max. That's their streaming service sometime in 2021. I don't know if there was a month that it was going to be released, maybe June. That sounds like it could be right. So that's interesting. Definitely something that I would want to check out. It's nice that all those people who talk about movies online, professionally, quote unquote, all those people who said, that this thing didn't exist and it was never going to happen. It's nice that they're proven wrong. Uh, we we still don't know much about it. I guess there's a possibility that it'll just be a really long, like 3.5 hour or 4 hour movie. And then there's also people thinking that maybe they will do what the Hateful Eight did and chop it up into, 5 or 6 episodes, which that would be interesting to see. Uh, I guess you'd be more like chapters than episodes since they wouldn't really have the same structure as an episode of TV per se. I mean, maybe they could have some cliffhangers or something to keep you going and keep you interested. Uh, I guess it's gonna have like a little budget to bring it up to snuff. I suppose about like 20 million, because I think there's some visual effects they need to finish up. They gotta get the crew together and stuff like that. And there's even possibility of some of the actors coming back. Maybe they want to do some reshoots, or I mean, even just ADR some stuff. I thought you're gonna see Ben Affleck, but Ben Affleck. Uh, but he's probably the only one that they wouldn't get back if they needed to get people back. I mean, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot are, still pretty in with Warner Brothers and DC since they've both got upcoming movies. Well, I guess Wonder Woman 1980 something is finished, and they're probably going to start Aquaman 2. I guess whenever this is over. I don't know the status of Aquaman 2. I don't really care about Aquaman. I mean, no one does. Uh, Ray Fisher would probably come back for Cyborg. I know there's a lot for Cyborg that they didn't get to do, and since he is a predominantly CGI character, I could see them, even making new stuff for Cyborg, which would be interesting. And then Ezra Miller, a possibility for the Flash. The Flash movie has gone through so much, you know, and it would also be really great for Henry Cavill to come back as Superman, because I feel like it's always kind of been iffy on if he was gonna come back for Superman. So maybe he does some reshoots or whatever, or just record some dialogue, whatever he's got to do. That'll kind of keep him in the game a little bit if there's a new direction that they're taking, something that he can get behind a little bit more, as opposed to how things have been. I mean, I don't really know a whole lot of the inner workings of Warner Brothers and DC and all that stuff. It's interesting if the one thing I do think is interesting is them referring to this as the Snyder Cut. Uh, I mean, that's obviously what the fans have been referring to it, and so like, part of them has to refer to it as that to get the fans, so the fans know exactly what this is. But it's interesting that they're referring to it as the Snyder Cut, because it's almost like they're admitting defeat. They're saying like, yeah, Justice League sucked, so here's the Snyder Cut. It's gonna be better. Screw Josh Whedon. So it's weird. I mean, I guess they could have called it the director's cut. Is Snyder still credited as director? I remember there was a whole thing about that. I think Snyder was still credited as director, and Whedon was credited as like a writer and a producer, something like that. I remember there were the conversations about crediting the directors. They were having this conversation about the Justice League and Snyder, kind of about around the same time they were talking about Phil Lord and Chris Miller with when they were kicked off of Solo, and if you were going to see them get director's credit versus Ron Howard. I don't remember how that turned out either, because I don't honestly care. I mean, no one cares about Solo anymore. You're not going to see a Phil Lord and Chris Miller cut of Solo Star Wars story, even though I think it probably would have been better. Yeah, but that's interesting. It's definitely something that I'm probably going to check out. And that has been your daily Half-Life 3 update for May 20th, 2020.